Warcraft 3 matchup tier list. We got... How many is there actually? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, of course, mirror matches and everything else. You can, of course, give me your opinion. I will present my opinion. And then we have a definitive list. Man! They put the mirrors last. I want to do the mirrors first, so they're out of the way. Would you agree with that, Chad? I think so. All right. This is hard to rank. Night Elf mirror. A lot of people hate the bear mirror. I think there's some beauty to the bear mirror, because there's some variations of the bear mirror. If we see Keeper or Naga, or if there's a base race or not, with like Zeppelin drops or not. A bear mirror is quite common, and it's also not that exciting. Same goes for Huntress mirror. Dude, thank you for the sub. So since there are 2 cases out of pretty much 4 where this matchup is not that exciting, and there's also very little variety outside of that, as much as it pains me, I'll have to give Night Elf mirror a strong D tier. I was flirting with the lower C tier. What's it ranked by? Entertainment. 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 And yeah. Night Elf mirror comes and goes in waves, and sometimes it's more interesting and sometimes it's less interesting. Currently is probably on a less interesting part. But yeah, strong D tier, flirting with the C tier. Orc mirror. Now hear me out. A lot of people like Orc mirror. I've casted a lot of Orc mirror in my life. And I said this before, like a couple of months ago. I could probably cast a classic Orc mirror blind, because it's always the same. Blade Master, Shadowhunter. Blade goes for a bit of harass. Shadowhunter creeps. Then at one point you got Raider, Walker, Kodo. You try to snipe the Kodo. Who has the better Shadowhunter? Who has more mana? Yada, yada, yada. I really don't like this, dude. I really don't like it. I hate it. Also, the varieties are not too interesting. Fastia, Firelord, Headhunter spam? Really? Really? I don't know, man. I think Night Elf mirror is more interesting than Orc mirror. It's not gonna be popular, but that's my opinion. Human mirror. So, human mirror is living in the extremes. If it's Breaker War, it's incredibly boring. Even the Mountain Kings only have 1 target. It is incredibly boring. But if it's not Breaker Mirror, then it's fantastic. And there is a development towards a non-Breaker Mirror with tier 3. And then things go crazy. If there's knights, people want to go for griffins. If there's griffins, people want to go for gyros. But what do you do if there's a panda? It's sick. It's not uncommon to get mass teleport. Girls Hajin, thank you very much for the sub. Giris Hajin. I'm so sorry. Giris Hajin. Thank you for the sub. That puts Human Mirror ahead of Orc Mirror. And since it's currently more likely to get a tier 3 Human Mirror, I would put it ahead of Night Elf Mirror as well. It's a weaker C tier for me. Could be D as well. And with that, we come to Undead Mirror. Blizzard ruined Undead Mirror. Undead Mirror was in a solid spot when destroyers were able to dispel anti-magic shield. Undead Mirror has this outlier where you got the incredibly dumb situation where both parties are going for a unit that they can't attack, and that's destroyers. Destroyer mirrors is the absolute worst. It's worse than Breaker Mirror because breakers at least can attack each other. Between Happy and 120 though, these mirrors are insane. So there is definitely potential for more. There's also expansion play possible with like Crypt Lord. I would put it here. I'd put it here. That's probably my... That's my ranking. Maybe I'm very biased because of the Happy 120 outlier. Because, I mean, I actually don't know what Labby and 120 are doing in their mirror matches. But note that this is a strong D. Or is it a C? Nah, it's not a C. It's not a C. All right, then. Orc versus Undead. We go from left to right now that the mirrors are out of the way. Orc versus Undead. It's an absolute classic to me. This matchup has seen so many amazing battles. And there's so many styles. You can have Farseer Mass Air, Farseer Headhunter Tier 3, Farseer Headhunter Expansion. You can see Blade Master with all the variations. And then you got probably, at the end, if things go right, the best heroes against each other. Tri-hero, both sides, supported by everything the race has to offer on Tier 3. Absolutely fantastic. The one side is nuking for 1,000,000 damage. The other side is critting and stunning in absurd values. I love this matchup. It's an absolute GOAT matchup. The Mass Wyvern is a bit dull. But even then, we get an Alchemist in the mix. It can be a bit dull at times, but in general, Orc vs. Undead is goated. Human vs. Night Elf. Human vs. Night Elf was in my top 2 of all matchups for a long time. I love it when I see a Warden. I love it when I see Tier 3 versus Tier 3. I love everything about that. I love Tank Twisted Meadow games. I love Bear vs. Breaker fights. Unfortunately, Human vs. Night Elf has become rifle push territory. And that is incredibly sad. Because rifle pushes are dull. Yes, it's fun to see a Blood Mage here and there, but it's a timing depending thing, and you win or you don't. It's a little bit of a tug of war, but it's more of a timing dependent thing, and we don't see too much Tier 2. I still enjoy it, but for me it's B tier. I gotta say. Unfortunately, I gotta say. Orc versus Night Elf. Orc versus Night Elf is an interesting matchup because it has been through a lot of variations. It has been for a long time through a stage where talents were played. That was incredibly boring. 13 minutes of waiting, a little harass in between, one big fight, pretty much over. We've also been terrorized by Mass Tier 1 on the Night Elf side. That was also incredibly boring. Now, it's a bit more in flux with dryads and bears in the mix. Tier 1 still viable. Talons hopefully at some point still viable. To me though, sometimes crazy hero action. It's B tier. It's a B tier. I don't mind it. I don't hate it. But it's B tier. Human versus orc. Human versus orc is a funny matchup. I enjoy this a lot. It's mostly tier 2, which is a bit sad, but it's crazy tier 2. With support heroes at the beginning, and then these ultimate juggernaut carry heroes in Mountain King and TC in the middle, with a lot of great support. It is a fantastic matchup. It's one of my favorites, I guess, but I can't put it in S tier if tier 3 is not involved. And tier 3 is not involved in this matchup pretty much ever, so this is my first A. So, I guess you all know what's coming now. Night Elf versus Undead. What's your guess? What do you think? Night Elf versus Undead. It is the worst. It's so bad. Fuck this matchup. I would like to create a new category to put it in freaking F because it sucks so much. 9-minute ghoul push, boring as hell. God, I hate it. You can't have an outlier of Keeper Hunt's AP pushes. Also kind of boring. You have an outlier as well where you go for multiple bases and then you have what? Mass air. You know what sucks? Mass freaking air. You got 1,000,000 units, they clash, it goes and one side wins. I hate this. I hate this matchup with a passion. It must be changed. It's the worst matchup in all of Warcraft. Screw this matchup. The potential is God tier. That is 100% correct, the town thing. But currently, I hate nothing more than Night Elf vs. Undead. I can't see it anymore. I can't think about it anymore. I want this all changed. Oh, that felt good getting that out of the system. Human vs. Undead. The last on the list. Human vs. Undead has been in bad spots historically in Warcraft 3. There's been 1,000,000 towers on the human side. There's been destroyer pushes on the undead side. One race was always favored over the other. And it was either timing dependent or lame. Now in 2024, I gotta say, Human versus Undead is by far the best, most interesting, entertaining, insane matchup in the scene. You got tier 3 always. In the beginning, there's a fight about an expansion. When that's established, you got to fight about levels. There's some little skirmishes here and there. You got crazy heroes. It's the essence of what makes Warcraft so great. You got some sweet nukes, you got supporters, you got heroes changing their roles in the span of a minute. When the Archmage is changing from a supporter hero to a walking mana fountain, to a crazy damage dealer. You can also, the Paladin, switching the role from a healer, from an essential healer to a nuker. And this goes all the way. Then you look at the units. Tide Hunters Happy versus 40, one of the best matches of all time. You counter one unit with another unit that can then easily be countered as well. It shifts the entire time. The longer it goes, the better it is. And then you try to expand for the third time. It's the most beautiful matchup in all of Warcraft, probably in Warcraft history. 2024, Human vs. Undead. Warcraft has never been better. And even if it's tanks, that's totally fine as an observer because it's still entertaining matches. And in the best case scenario, you got necromancers in the mix, you got inner fire, you got it all. I love it. I do see that as a player, tanks are not so fun. I can see that as a player, banshees are not that fun. For me personally, it's the peak of Warcraft 3 esports. And that, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone outside and in between, is my tier list of Warcraft 3 matchups.